Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, my ideal World Universities Debating Championship. I think, to begin with, it will be a World Universities Debating Championship where the food will be tasting better, like for real, like fresh, good food for everybody. But on the other side, ladies and gentlemen, it will be a World Universities Debating Championship where knowledge of the world is appreciated and where the lack of knowledge on one side of the African continent or Latin America or minorities is not disapproved or not, in essence, where we do not condone those who do not know the African continent and who publicly display their lack of knowledge over the African continent. It's so disgusting because we're expected to know everywhere. We're expected to know everything that is happening across the globe. However, on one side, when people do not know about the African continent, when people do not know about developing countries, be it in Latin America or Asia, it's okay because they are not expected to know. That will be the World Universities Debating Championship I aspire to see in the future. On the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, my ideal World Universities Debating Championship will be one that represents genders better. I think it's imperative that we impose a rule that every team needs to be composed of both genders. It is very crucial, especially in developing countries, that such a rule and that women can be represented here on a larger scale. On the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, my ideal World Universities Debating Championship will be one that borrows the vibrant Yaka culture of South Africa. I would love to see Yaka in Thailand. I would love to see Yaka in Seoul and across the globe, ladies and gentlemen. It is very bad, especially if you're weak, it kills you very fast. But the thing is damn good. Oh my goodness. It's so good. That is Yaka for you. Ladies and gentlemen, on another hand, my ideal World Universities Debating Championship will have room for appeal. I think the absence of that room of appeal, the absence of an appeal process, especially in the judging process, ladies and gentlemen, leaves room for a lot of fault, for a lot of mistakes to happen. And when teams cannot appeal, ladies and gentlemen, we make the chair the determiner of that judge and the final determiner of that decision. Ladies and gentlemen, that decision could contain so many errors, as I have seen and as I've witnessed, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, a room for appeal will make the whole process longer, it will take more time, it will be costlier, but ladies and gentlemen, for the benefit of justice, for the benefit of everybody who feels undercut, who feels wronged, ladies and gentlemen, a room for appeal would be included in my ideal World Universities Debating Championship. On another hand, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, my ideal World Universities Debating Championship will not be pushing the race thing, the blatant race discrimination that happens in this competition under the carpet. Ladies and gentlemen, it's so wrong. And I'll give you an example, ladies and gentlemen. The EFL finals that just happened, ladies and gentlemen, there was hardly one team that was white, ladies and gentlemen, but the bench that chaired or the bench that judged that debate, ladies and gentlemen, had one person of color, one person out of 9. But the teams debating here, ladies and gentlemen, had 0 people of power, zero persons who were white, ladies and gentlemen. They were from Japan, they were from Indonesia, and they were from Colombia. But the bench that chaired, ladies and gentlemen, 0 represented these people. Is it because if they could make it to the finals, ladies and gentlemen, why is it that we could not have a bench that represented the diversity that was represented here? Why, in essence, ladies and gentlemen? And that we continue pushing. The race thing happens. Everybody acknowledges, but nobody wants to speak about it. We continue pushing it under the carpet. Ladies and gentlemen, it's blatant and we need to act. This thing has happened. This is the 39th edition. Ladies and gentlemen, no African team has made it beyond the quarters. Like really, really. 39 years, ladies and gentlemen, no African team No African team was worth making it beyond the quarters. None, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, my ideal World Universities Debating Championship will be one that represents genders, will be one that has more yaka, and will be one that represents races better. Thank you.
My ideal WDC would be, correct? All right. My ideal WDC would be a swimming pool. Now, you might be surprised, but debate is actually a lot like swimming, and not swimming in that Finding Dory movie or splashing at a kiddie pool, but like real Olympic swimming. The PM speech is like diving, making an argument is the crawl, the butterfly is the whip speech, the POI is side stroke, I don't know. But we also have non-swimming in our debater life, like the doggy paddle, where we get into an argument with our parents or our respective others, and as we argue and we yell, there's no structure, there's no logic, and we're screaming, and both of us lose. So debate definitely has its perks. Some people are born for the water. They understand arguments, they hit the clash every time. But not this guy. When I started debate, I was a curious person, very well-meaning, but I didn't know anything about anything. And I'd come with pathos lines like, think of the children, and I would take fourth. And I wouldn't understand. It's like treading water. And for me, I wasn't afraid of speaking per se, but logic takes practice and work. And then I came to my first Worlds. Imagine what your first Worlds is like. And I know that for some of you here, you need to use like all your fingers and all your toes to keep track. But for me, it was a very special moment. You know, when you arrive and you sign up and you find that your team are in a different building, so you spend 25 minutes going to tables, then you get your lunch in a paper bag, and then the salad is wrong. Oh, you know, we've all been there. And yeah, I know some of you went through that. So my first Worlds, bobbing along below straights, and then we get the motion, this house would allow the Tamil Tigers to run for national elections in Sri Lanka. And I froze. Like, as I said, well-meaning, curious guy who knows nothing. I didn't know if Tamil Tigers were actual tigers or a brand or a band, but I did know that they did not know that they were part of a civil war until 2009. And you'd think this is funny enough, but it gets better. So using my beginner's common sense, I'm like, all right, we're second gov. I'm going to use an analogy to a rebel organization that I know who got into government and blow this debate out of the water. But again, limited knowledge base. Who are the rebels that I knew about? The American founding fathers. So I get up, I make this brilliant case, and the guy who gets up after me is another American, and he goes, oh, by the way, I just got back from a semester in Sri Lanka. And I'm like, oh, junk. You know, my heart falls into, you know, like swimming. I was drowning. And then he gets up and says, the American founding fathers have certain things that the Tamil Tigers never had, like organization, funding, education, and they also weren't napalmed from the air by the people they were fighting against. And I was like, all right, if we don't take a fourth, I will file a complaint against these adjudicators. But something clicked. I realized that if I need to succeed at this swimming, it wasn't enough to debate here and there. And I started to read The Economist and work on building good practices. I learned that the Council of Europe and the European Council were not the same thing. I learned that when you build hydroelectric dams on the Mekong, that helps Laos but depletes fisheries in Vietnam. And I learned that Australia are really bad at keeping their prime ministers. I don't know what's up with that, guys. And after that, my debating career got better, both as a speaker and then as a part of the ADJ Corps and a few more competitions. And I went on to do Model UN and Toastmasters. And I watched my university grades get better in like every essay from 5 to 10 points. And I kept swimming through the hard parts, but for the first time in my life, I felt that I had actually worked for something. And I also realized that I had respect for the people in this community who went through this thing, which allows no shortcuts against other human beings. And here I am at the public speaking finals, which, you may laugh, but this looks better on a CV than broke 26 double octos, whatever that means. And one final tip. Don't forget the amazement of the kiddie pool. Grown-ups continue in their lanes, getting very technical. And for us, we need to remember that this is cool. We can go left, right, around, Imagine what life was like before you learned debating skills. It makes a very big difference. People come into this community from places of imbalance, but here only arguments and merits win through. And you know what? It can still be difficult sometimes. But even when it is, what do we say? Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, 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 swimming. What do? We swim, swim, swim. Adjudication panel, thank you.
Greetings and salutations, ladies and or gentlemen. I am a student, a debater, and a Canadian. But in this moment, I am much more than that. I am stressed. I am sleep deprived. I am sunburnt within an inch of my life. I stand before you today in my underpants, against strong medical recommendation, to talk to you about my ideal WUDC, which is one where I was less of a dumbass. You may think that because I am here and because I am on this stage, that I am very smart. I once chipped a front tooth while I was standing in front of a front door, which I then closed the door and then walked into it. My mother eventually had to put up decals, like you do for birds, to save my life and her sanity. Meaning that I am roughly as intelligent as the average urban pigeon. You may think that I was selected because I am one of the best in my region, and yes, that is so. But I also agreed to attend because if anyone else from our club had gone, they would have killed my partner. I love him dearly, bless his heart. One thing I did not account for when I went to beautiful, resilient Cape Town, in the midst of this terrible drought, was that I have severe obsessive compulsive disorder. And that when I am stressed, I bathe every hour on the hour. And that the very idea of being grubby or somehow unclean is something that makes me wish to stare in the eyes of God and ask him why he made me. Between each round of this tournament, I immediately took off, ran to the local bathroom, stripped naked, and took a frantic sponge bath with a moist towelette. This is the longest I have ever gone without a bath in my adult life. You might have been wondering throughout this tournament, does that white girl know what she smells like? Yes, Yes, I do. This is the smell of virtue. It's the stench of valor. No one goes this long without showering unless they truly believe in the human condition. No one was monitoring the showers. I could have moved at any time. I have never been sweatier in my life. You see this hair? You sometimes enjoy a nice flowing breeze through your hair. When the wind hits my hair, it doesn't flow through, it gets stuck and has to call for help. I am sweating so hard right now, and it can't escape through my hair. It is like a jungle in here. The humidity in my hair is intense. It's having its own independent droughts and seasons now. I did not wear sunscreen to the pool. In my desperation to get into the water and finally feel sweet, sweet relief? No, I did not. And now my entire face hurts. When I blink, when I breathe, when I smile. The bugs have been eating me alive, and I fear they shall finish me off soon, as I appear to be in some kind of anaphylactic shock as we speak. 2 days ago, I realized something. I looked up into the sky and I realized there's a huge mountain over there, just lurking on the horizon. Why did no one tell me there was a mountain? And why did it take me 5 days to notice? Why did I think the park next door was called Mountaintop? How long was the mountain there? Thank you.
Why do we keep doing it? I mean, as human beings, we should have realized over millennia that our existence is just a futile struggle to try to pursue some happiness that, trust me, doesn't exist. We as intelligent people should have known by now. We've built planes so huge and heavy but can swim through the clouds and everything. We've been able to develop complex ideas like sweet old Marxism and all the delicious foods in this world. Yet we keep lying to ourselves that, hey, life is worth it and happiness is somewhere in the distance. But even in the suffering that exists in this world, even with everything we go through, we choose to invite more psychological trauma in our lives. And everyone in this audience is complicit of doing that by trying to engage in good old debating. I began becoming complicit in this act about 2 years ago. I was new in the University of Ghana, and I wanted a safe haven to express my ideas which were strange in my country. So I found a debating society, and I got that beautiful privilege. I got so many friends who believed in the things that I did, and I got the freedom to think wide and free. But this came as a cost. My university wasn't going to fund me to learn all these beautiful things and to read wide and access all these resources without getting something back, which means every year they would send me to many tournaments to try to get them the medals that satisfied their greed and selfishness. But hey, it was a worthy trade-off. I got to spread my ideas, think wide, and meet so many people. So every year, when that opportunity came, I would jump to it because this was my responsibility in getting the freedom of thinking that I had come to know was what was most important to me in the university. So somewhere around last year, around the same time, I was sent to Mexico to go and debate for the University of Ghana. and I was extremely happy. It was my first time traveling, and I had so many expectations. Now, when you are traveling in Ghana to go for any competition, everyone is like, go for gold and bring it home. And they have no idea how difficult debating is. Yet they say all these things, and you're all like, yeah, I'm going to bring it home because I am the best in my country. Trust you, you're lying to yourself. But I said all those things, and I went to Mexico bright-eyed with so much hope. Round 1, I was third. Round 2, third again. Round 3, fourth. And I began to draw all these conclusions that, hey, they just don't understand the sophistication I was coming with. That is why they were giving me all those nasty rankings. Well, round 9, and I had 5 points, and obviously, no one breaks with 5 points. My university was so discouraged and disappointed, they chose not to talk to me about it. Until now, we haven't spoken about Mexico 2018. But then I think from somewhere, probably from space, they got some hope that, hey, you've been debating for 2 years, so if you go to Cape Town 2019, you might bring some medal or something. So, hey, we're going to fund you again from our limited coffers to go and debate. And I was similarly bright-eyed and excited. My mother told me in a phone call, hey, my son, I believe in you. I named you Jeremiah because you are going to become a prophet. You are going to prophesy to all those nations and let them believe in all that you are going to say. So spiritually, physically, and emotionally, I was ready to get all those laurels for my country. I come here, round 1, third. Round 2, fourth. Round 3, fourth. And to break night, it was exactly the same ordeal. So having gone through so much stress and suffering as a debater from Ghana, it begs the question as to how I would want WUDC to be for me as a person. How would I want it to be so that I survive and still continue to love debating? I would want it to be exactly the same. I have suffered, I have struggled, but then the values and the experiences I have gotten from all the suffering, the failures, and the disappointments, the tears, have made me a better person. In every area of my life, when I go there and I go to struggle, I would know that life is more than just the wins. It is more than just the laurels. It is for the experience of living and trying to defy the idea of the futility of life. My ideal WUDC will be exactly the same. Thank you.